Carl Jung wrote these words looking back on his life, and they just perfectly capture the radical idea that drove him. The idea that the most important journey you or I can ever take isn't out into the world, but deep within ourselves.
So we're not just going to look at the life of a famous psychologist. No, we are exploring a profound personal adventure, a head-on confrontation with the depths of the human psyche that would honestly change how we understand the mind forever. See, right at the heart of Jung's life, there was this fundamental tension. He was a man completely torn between two worlds. You had the empirical, rational world of science, and then this intuitive, visionary inner world that he felt just as deeply, just as real. And Jung himself talked about this split like he had two distinct personalities living inside him. On one hand, you had personality number one. This was the public eye the world saw. The doctor, the respectable son, sometimes kind of clumsy and limited. But then there was personality number two. This was his secret inner self, timeless, ancient, connected to something much deeper, almost mystical. And for him, this wasn't just a mood swing. It was a profound internal division. And you have to understand, for Jung, this inner world wasn't a choice. It wasn't a hobby. He described it as this compelling force, an inner law he felt he had to obey. It was a call he simply couldn't ignore, even when it was about to lead him into some very dark places.
And that journey into darkness really kicked off with one of the most significant events of his life, his dramatic and frankly painful break from his mentor, the father of psychoanalysis himself, Sigmund Freud.
Okay, so here's the breaking point. Freud was insistent that his sexual theory was the absolute, unchallengeable core of psychoanalysis. He wanted to make it a dogma, but for Jung, who was at heart an empirical scientist, that was just impossible. He couldn't pledge loyalty to a theory when his own observations, his own experience, told him reality was way more complex.
I mean, in his own words, you can just feel how final this decision was. To keep his intellectual integrity, he had to cut ties with the most important figure in his professional life. It was absolutely devastating, both personally and for his career.
So imagine this. After leaving the safety net of Freud's circle, Jung was utterly lost. He called it a period of profound disorientation. All the maps he'd been using were suddenly useless, and he found himself staring right into the abyss of his own unconscious, totally and completely alone. And this feeling, it's captured perfectly in this incredibly powerful dream he had, where he realized he had to murder the great hero Siegfried. Jung knew this wasn't about literal violence. It was about killing his old identity, that heroic, ambitious ego that wanted to conquer the world. That part of him had to die so that something new could be born. So what did he do? This crisis, it threw him headfirst into this period of incredibly intense self-exploration. For years, he descended deep into his own psyche, and he documented everything, his visions, his inner conversations, in a secret masterpiece. He called it the Red Book. And we're talking about a massive, leather-bound, hand-illustrated volume where he recorded his fantasies, his fears, his dialogues with figures that were bubbling up from his own unconscious. It was his private laboratory, his sacred space for exploring the soul. And when you look inside the Red Book, you find these raw, just incredible dialogues. One night, a voice wakes him up, telling him the great work begins. And Jung's conscious self, his ego, asks the obvious question. And his soul answers. It tells him he's been asleep, that he's been unconscious for far too long. There's this huge, difficult task waiting for him, and he has to wake up to a whole new level of consciousness to even face it. So naturally, he asks the one question that's at the heart of his entire crisis, the question that's been eating him alive this whole time. What is my purpose now? What is my calling? And the answer that comes back is just, wow, absolutely staggering. His soul tells him his calling is the new religion and its proclamation. Can you imagine hearing that from the depths of your own mind? Now, this wasn't about founding a church. It was about discovering a new way for modern people to find meaning, a whole new relationship with that inner world. So Jung comes out of this harrowing descent, right? But he doesn't emerge as some kind of prophet. He comes out as a cartographer, a map maker, and he spent the rest of his life turning his terrifying, deeply personal experiences into a revolutionary map of the human psyche, a map that all of us can actually use. Okay, so the first territory he mapped, he called it the shadow. This is basically the unconscious part of our personality, that face we never show the world. He said confronting it is the first test of courage on the inner journey, because, let's be honest, it means looking at all the unpleasant stuff about ourselves we'd much rather ignore.
All right, next up, he identified what he called archetypes. Now, these aren't specific inherited ideas. Think of them more like inherited patterns or psychic blueprints for universal human experiences, like the mother, the hero, the trickster. They're the deep structures that shape how we make sense of the world.
And there's this one famous dream he had that just perfectly illustrates this whole idea. He dreamt he was in his house, but as he went downstairs, floor by floor, he was actually going back in time. From his modern living room, to a medieval ground floor, to a Roman cellar, and finally down into a prehistoric cave filled with bones. He realized the house was the psyche itself, with our personal lives on the top floor, all built on this incredible collective ancestral foundation, the collective unconscious.
So from all these discoveries, he laid out a roadmap, a lifelong psychological journey he called individuation. And really, it's just the process of becoming who you are truly meant to be. It all starts with confronting your shadow. Then you have to integrate your inner masculine or feminine side, the animus or anima. And it's all in service of discovering your true, whole self.
And for Jung, the ultimate symbol of this wholeness was the mandala. He actually started drawing them during his crisis and realized that all his chaotic thoughts, all his paths, were leading back to a single point, the center. The mandala represents that unified self, the real goal of the entire inner journey.
You know, Jung came to believe this inner work had a kind of cosmic importance. He tells this amazing story about a Pueblo elder who told him that his people's daily rituals literally helped their father, the sun, to cross the sky. And Jung had this light bulb moment. He realized that this sense of purpose, of participating in the life of the cosmos, was exactly what modern humanity had lost.
And all of this led him to his most profound, most provocative final thought. He started to believe that the universe only achieves objective existence and meaning because we are here to be aware of it. And that leaves us with this absolutely stunning question. What if human consciousness isn't just some random biological accident? What if it's actually essential for the universe to become complete? What if we are, in a very real sense, the second creators of the world?